Before we get into our stories, there is some breaking news with the Veterans Breakfast Club. Well, at least to me, it's breaking news. And that is that we've been in error for several years here at the Veterans Breakfast Club, especially in Pittsburgh. Many of you know that we had a beloved member of our Veterans Breakfast Club, Henry Parham, who passed away in 2021 at age 99. And he was referred to at the time, and we always referred to him and still referred to him until up until 2 days ago, as the last surviving member or the only surviving member of the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion. Turns out that's not true. I got a wonderful note from Lorri Brinkley Nelson, who let me know that her grandfather had just passed away at 104, and that he also had been a member of the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion. I'm going to share a photo here. This is Henry Parham. He was a prince of a human being. He attended our events, was very popular at our Veterans Breakfast Club storytelling breakfasts. Everyone just adored him. When he did pass away, we devoted our magazine cover story to Henry. Again, he served with the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion, which was the only Black unit to land on Omaha Beach on D-Day, June 6, 1944. And they're the ones who flew and maintained the barrage balloons on Omaha Beach so that the beach would not be strafed. Henry was so well known here in our region that the VA, a new VA clinic that opened up just east of Pittsburgh, has been named after him. So it would be the Henry Parham VA Center. And again, in this you could even see this headline from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, named after the last Black survivor of D-Day. And again, it turns out it wasn't true. The last Black survivor, we believe, was this man, Leroy Fenton Brinkley, who just died on February 3rd at his home, I believe in Chesapeake, Virginia, uh, uh,
Right. Yes.
shy of 105. And we have his granddaughter here with us. Lorri, hi.
Hi. Hi.
And
My app was updating, so I'm probably on two. I'm gonna leave one unit or one app here because my app was updating here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
And I think we have your
Yes.
brother on too, right?
Yes. My brother Julian Brinkley, Dr. Julian Brinkley. He's actually traveling from Virginia back to his state of South Carolina because our grandfather's funeral was actually today, so he may get
Oh,
some maybe in and out. So
it
yeah.
was today. Well, you do have my
Right.
sympathies.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
and thank
I'm
you for
here.
joining us on this day. And thank you
Mhm.
also for letting us know about your grandfather. I'm
Right.
embarrassed to say that, we've been in
Oh,
error all these
yeah.
years. Did your
Mhm.
grandfather talk much about his service?
So he did here and there. About my grandfather, he actually was very talkative. He could talk about anything from to building things, carpentry, to gardening, to saving your money, to Judge Judy. So he talked here and there about it. Some things he wouldn't go into great detail about, because of, I would imagine, what he's seen and what he experienced. But he did talk about Normandy, being on the beach, storming the beaches of Normandy that day. And he did talk about, I believe, seeing Paris and England. Some things I can't remember fully, but he did talk about it here and there.
And you
He did.
mentioned,
There was one. Go ahead.
oh, no, no, you go ahead. I think you're going to bring up something that I was going to ask you about.
So yeah, he did. My dad mentioned that he talked about here and there about they had his group, or I don't know the correct terminology, but they had captured a German soldier, and they actually, I believe, the his other soldiers wanted to dispatch him, I believe if that's the correct terminology. But my grandfather said, no, let's bring him back to be interrogated instead of, wanting to do that early on. So that's I'm probably not telling the whole thing correctly, but that's something I do remember that my dad mentioned recently. But yeah, he. Uh-huh.
Did your grandfather also have a surprising experience with an English family who was kind or generous to him? Am I making that up?
I'm not sure that I
Okay.
hadn't heard. I know he did go to England, but I'm not sure the specifics to that. So that I'm not sure about.
After I got your note, I of course looked him up frantically
Okay.
and
Mhm.
was so, pleased to read what I did. Here he
Mhm.
is on the left in this
Yep.
old picture from the
Mhm.
war. Here he is, much later in life.
Mhm.
The obituary that appeared is just wonderful.
Thank you.
It portrays just a wise man who has
Yeah.
been around and
Mhm.
had done a lot of things in life and
Mhm.
managed to keep a wonderful attitude and to help others kind of
Yep.
grow also.
Definitely. Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
he he grew up in Edenton, North Carolina
Yes. Yep.
during the height of Jim Crow. He
Mhm.
went to a segregated high school. He then
Mhm.
went on to North Carolina A&T, which was a historically black university.
Mhm.
Then he was drafted. Did he talk about at all what growing up in the Jim Crow South was like in the 1920s, 1930s?
He did. Um,
Can I
some
interject?
things
Yes,
like
Julian.
yeah, that's my brother there. Yeah, he can probably
Yeah.
explain more
So he
things.
no, Lori's doing a great job telling his story. I just wanted to mention he actually mentioned a lot of that growing up during that time period. I know I spent a lot of time talking to him about because I was really fascinated about what that time period was like. And what he described to me actually was not what many people would probably imagine. So he would tell me that growing up, he had friends who were actually white, and he would, play with them. Like he even told me about a story of a little girl in his neighborhood who he had befriended. Um, my grandfather, my grandfather's father, my great grandfather, was really active in the civil rights movement. Um, so that was like a legacy that he was very proud of. My grandfather was. Uh, but yeah, so he talked a lot about it. But I know he faced some challenges during that period of time, particularly once he got back from the war. But I think growing up, things were probably as normal as they could potentially be.
There was
Yeah.
a real crisis in the South and in the country after World War II around issues of race. And there was a lot of racial violence, a large spike in racial violence in the South after the war, which is kind of, I think, surprising to read about for many Americans to read about today. But there was a sense that there was rising expectations among Black Americans because of war service, and there was almost a reaction, a political social reaction in the South with racist groups attacking Black service members. And I bet your dad or your grandfather would have remembered that and some of those stories
Mhm. Yep.
of that time. Boy, how I wish I would have been able to meet him and talk to him.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah, I
He
would
was
say
a great man.
no. Go ahead, Lori. I'm sorry.
No, that was it. Yep.
No, I was going to say he did speak to me a little bit about that, but I think he kind of put it in context with respect to what his father experienced when he got back from World War One. So I know he faced some discrimination. I know specifically, I think what he talked about at that time was the job discrimination that he dealt with. Because I think at the time when he got back, he was trying to get a job. One of the major naval bases here, well, not here. I don't live in Virginia anymore, but in Norfolk, Virginia. So I know he was, he used to tell me that he faced some discrimination, at the time trying to get employment at the naval base. But ultimately he ended up going to work for the post office. So things kind of worked out the way they were supposed to.
He served in the Navy, correct? He retired from the military, didn't he?
Yeah, he
After the war.
after he got out of the army, he joined the Naval Reserve, and I believe he did. Lori may know the exact dates, but I believe he did about 20 years in the Naval Reserve, and ultimately ended up retiring from the Naval Reserve.
So you're saying Leroy's father was in World War I?
Yes.
Right. Yep.
That is quite a family
Norman
history
Brinkley.
and legacy.
Yep.
You got to write about it.
So that's what my brother had wanted to take on, and we had started to collect some of his stories and sayings and things, but unfortunately he passed away before we could fully get that implemented. So so that's something that I do. Something unfortunate that we didn't get to finish, but yeah, we do have some stories and everything and memories. So yeah.
So Lorri and Julian, I read that his older sister lived to be 105.
10 months
Almost.
shy of, yeah.
Almost 105,
So
104.
yeah. Yeah. So he beat Riva by 5 months. So his birthday would have been in June, June 13th, at 105, and she was 10 months shy of her 105th birthday. So and my
Okay.
great granddad, he was 102 when he passed away.
Jeez. Well, Lorri and Julian, I hate to break it to you, but you've got a plan for a long, healthy life.
Yeah.
So make sure you have the wherewithal to make it that long. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for
Thank
updating
you.
us. And I would love to kind of get the word out about your grandfather because
Right.
unfortunately, does he appear in this book? I'm going to take this down here. Does he appear in Linda Huvo's book? I don't remember his name being in there or being one of the people interviewed by
Probably
her.
not.
This is the
I
book.
don't think so.
Okay, I
Okay.
don't think so either. I think I would have remembered that. And for those
Mhm.
of you who don't know, the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion, all black battalion, trained in Tennessee, shipped overseas, landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day, and was there for the landing. And there was a lot of heroism that morning among them, the black soldiers among them. So it's a wonderful story. Linda Hervo's book, Forgotten, The Untold Story of D-Day's Black Heroes at Home and at War, is a wonderful read, and maybe we'll put a link to that book here in the chat. And if you do ever, run across any more information about his service, if you don't have his military records and would like to access them, let us know because we'd love to get the word out about your grandfather's service too.